This is one of the coolest custom GPTs that I think I found so far. And there's a couple like it, but this one is called Diagrams Show Me. And what it does is it allows you to talk, and then it'll make flowcharts or visuals, diagrams that outline the ideas that you asked it to show you. So for example, I could say, create a flowchart that shows the pathway from farm to table for tomatoes that are grown in the United States, and describe every piece of the supply chain, the processing, all of the pieces and parts of how a tomato actually gets to a grocery store and how it gets to your table. Okay, so when it comes out with the diagram, we'll go ahead and say, let's view it in full screen. When we look at this, let's downsize this. So on the left-hand side, it says that there's a farmer who grows and harvests tomatoes, harvester, processor, transporter, wholesaler, and then eventually a retailer and a consumer. And that was super wide, but you'll see that this was definitely effective in conveying the idea. And what I could do is I could even say, give me the estimated cost of the tomato initially for the farmer to plant, and what the farmer gets when the farmer sells the tomato, and then show me at every step in the chain an estimated cost of how much the tomato gets marked up before it ends up actually being retailed to the consumer, and add that to your sequence diagram. So we'll ask it to do that, and then hopefully it'll give us a breakdown with actual pricing in the actual labels here. Cool, so it's the same type of chart. You can't see all the way over here on the left, but that's 15 cents starting out, then 20, 35, 40, 50, 75. And it ended up with basically a realistic number, I think, depending on your market, for probably a single tomato where it's retailed. I would say 75 cents could be probably a pretty typical number for one tomato. And it has all the steps there. So, we're just asking it questions. It's giving us better than words. It's giving us these visuals. And I really think that's super valuable. So I just threw another prompt and I said, give me a diagram of what the Department of State does and all of its functions and all of its relationships to all of the other parts of the federal government. And then I want descriptions of how all those pieces are interacting together. And this is going to be like, the type of thing that would help you to understand visually, as a study guide, if you're trying to learn, in a civics or a government class or a history class, if you're trying to understand how all these things work. And specifically, I called out all these functions, and it kind of gave me a visual right here that was pretty good overall. And if I wanted to look at that more in depth, I could pop that open, download that PNG. It does give you these little things to say, string, and these are all data types, and this is how it makes the visual. It actually uses this little breakdown here. I'll show you this. If you go in here, this is actually where it builds the diagram, and this is where the code is actually interacted with in this thing called the Mermaid Live Editor. So you can actually write code to this, and then this will give you this sort of chart where you can link all these bubbles together, and this is where things are actually made. So this is what the GPT is talking to actually get these functions to be made. And you see we have all these little functions. So the Department of State oversees diplomacy, shapes foreign policy, contributes to domestic policy, and facilitates trade, right? So these are kind of key words that, are probably, key to study and test questions, and that's probably how it's pulling those out. Another thing I could try is I could say, give me a diagram that outlines all of Microsoft's C-suite and all of its board of directors and all of the people who are involved in Microsoft and all of their various functions and relationships to the business in a diagram. And I don't even have to say in a diagram, but that's just kind of out of habit for prompting. But what I'm hoping to have this do is reach out and understand what is currently going on in Microsoft. I love how it said babe right there. I just saw that. It's hilarious. Babe, give me a diagram. I'm looking for it to go out and actually look around and gather the most recent information, and I'll see if I can check this out. Okay, so right now it just gave me just the like positions and how those are kind of all lined up. But I'm going to say, I actually want you to go and gather me the actual names of the people who are in these actual positions, and then make the diagram with that information. And so we'll see what that does. It does say, hey, here's what Microsoft does. It's managed by the C-suite and reports to the board of directors. Well, that's like any corporation, but I want to see the actual people, and then I want to know who is the CEO, CFO, COO, or CTO. I want to have all that broken down for me. Okay, so it actually gave me some names, and I'm going to definitely check these and see if they're correct. But now we have all these people's names, board of directors, and then we have Microsoft, and then we have this breakdown here. So it's the board of directors, all these different positions, and I think that this is interesting. The board of directors and the C-suite. It doesn't name the C-suite, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it to get more complex. I'm going to say, can you go ahead and diagram out every member of the board of directors? I'll just start saying it now. I want you to diagram out all of the people who are in the board of directors of Microsoft and all of their existing and past business ties that are of note. So if any of them have a major tie to any other major organization, I want to see that in a diagram. So this is when we're getting really nitty gritty. This is like saying, this guy was or is, CFO at PepsiCo, but he's on the board of directors at Microsoft. So that like links PepsiCo to Microsoft. So it's just kind of an interesting link back and forth. And so I just kind of want to see if we can get a visual to see all of those people and then link them back to their functions on the board at Microsoft. Okay, so I got the full diagram. This one is really wide. So what's interesting is this is all broken down into all the different members, and then all the individuals, it says past business ties, notable past business associations. So founder and chairman of PSP Partners, ADP Inc., all these different breakdowns. This is only one. I kind of wanted there to be maybe more links and more stuff to build a diagram out of. But you know what? This is okay. This is definitely better than nothing. Now the visual is not very good because it's so wide, so we might ask it to reformat. And then just for fun, I could say, make me a diagram of the top 5 Pokemon of all time, and then create a diagram of all of their evolutionary states. All right, cool. So we'll get a Pokemon diagram too. That should be cool to look at. And this is what we got out of the Pokemon one. So we got Pikachu, Charizard, Mewtwo, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, right? And so it just shows evolution at every step of the chain in order. And it just says, out of the Pokemon, here are the top 5 Pokemon. So I just think this is cool, right? And even has the types of Pokemon. So, really cool. I honestly think that they could evolve the visual of these charts, and they could make like a really, really cool, like, edge node, link node type diagram. And I think that would be really, really better than having, some of this information kind of, in here, the styling kind of the way it is. But overall, this is an extremely useful custom GPT, and it's definitely one of my favorites. So there will be a link to that. Definitely go check that out. Let me know what you guys did with it. If you have any suggestions for anything that you want to learn on this channel, please drop a suggestion in the comments. And thanks for watching and hanging out with me.